All right, Blake, you own Anthony Richardson on a competitive dynasty team, but you are 1-2 right now. What are you doing with AR? Are you feeling nervous about him?
Yeah, I mean, it's the most nervous part is that I'm 1-2 with a studly team, and Anthony Richardson serves in helping my case here through 3 weeks now. The panic is starting to come in a little bit, being even like the one of the hottest guys on AR here. In fact, I just wouldn't have been surprised if through 3 weeks he was the QB1. Like the number one asset in Dynasty. I mean, that's how highly I thought about AR and just the ceiling, and we saw that week 1, but now here we are. He's 6 games into his career. The first four were awesome, and the last two were terrible. So,
Yeah,
um,
and it's not just the fantasy production, it's
yeah,
it's how he looks. He's completing less than half of his passes, just some brutal throws out there. We saw that awful interception in the end zone against the Bears. So yeah, I think that's kind of part of the
yeah,
equation here is
it's
that like
definitely yeah,
'cause we just saw Bryce Young get benched for Andy Dalton. So like, I mean, are we gonna be seeing
yeah,
Joe Flacco soon? I mean, that's kind of what some people might be wondering right now.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen Anthony Richardson, be a lot more useful than Bryce Young, but like. I guess what I will say on my bullish Anthony Richardson is like, okay, like Stroud didn't have his best game last week, and for fantasy he hasn't had like him and Anthony Richardson are basically been scoring the exact same. They're within 4 points. So like, no one seems to be really like panicking on Stroud, but yet like, you know, all this panic's going on for AR. So
Yeah,
the only difference is one we know is a really good NFL quarterback. The other one, to be proven still for winning games in the NFL. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, yeah. So I'm in a tough spot here. I need to win some games. So, yeah, hit me with what you got. I'd be willing to like trade him for the right price, of course, if it helps me win.
Yeah, and so in this league where you're 1-2 with AR, you got a pretty loaded team. Whereas I'm rebuilding. You did send me a trade offer. We'll put it up on the screen. But basically, you're trying to go from Anthony Richardson to Jaden Daniels. So,
Yeah.
but simplifying this trade a little bit, I mean, would you be willing to throw, like a Michael Pittman on top of Anthony Richardson to get to Jaden Daniels? Would you be willing to throw on like a second to AR to get to Daniels? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I throw Pittman in. Just I just can't wait around for him. Like if
Yeah.
I mean, I have other guys that will come back from injury to replace his spot anyways. And
Mhm.
if he gets hot, like I mean, that would be the hope. But if I keep him, but yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to throw him in just to make sure I get like a quarterback that's getting the best start to his first three career games.
Yeah. And because I mean you have like a pretty loaded team, like you don't want to waste this opportunity by like
Exactly.
waiting around on these guys. You'd rather just kind of like make a swap, even if you're
Yeah.
taking like a little bit of loss in value. So would the same be true for any of the kind of like stud mobile quarterbacks, say Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts? I mean, would you be willing to add at least a second to, move from AR to any of those guys?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at like all my leagues, like I own one of those guys you just named basically in every
Mhm.
league. It's mostly
Yeah.
Hurts and like Daniels and AR.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I can just like go from one mobile quarterback to another, even if I have to pay an extra right now because they're scoring more points than them.
Mhm.
It sucks. That's not how I like doing business, but I'd
Yeah.
be willing to do it right now in this specific situation. I definitely don't want to miss playoffs because AR struggles in the first half of the season and then turns it up in the second.
Right.
And then like it doesn't matter to me. Of course,
Yeah,
it
you're
is.
already eliminated from the playoffs, or you
Yeah,
just it's making a
uh,
hole to climb out of.
of course it's dynasty. Like maybe in that case I'm good next season, but I've done enough like accumulating value. I've done
Yeah.
enough of that. So like I have some stuff to throw around. I have a Michael Penix that I can like toss around or hold him or whatever I do.
Yeah.
So I mean I thought this was a good trade to like bring out the secret weapon.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Penix, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Well,
but
that's what's nice about like once you've like built a dynasty team the right way and you have all this extra value,
yeah,
you can kind of afford to like in season use some of that extra value, like a Penix that you were stashing, or maybe an extra second or pick or whatever,
yeah,
and you can kind of like cure some of your in season problems, just like that, just throwing a little extra value on top of something. So definitely not a bad thing to consider in the right circumstances.
yeah,
And just to clarify, we are talking about leagues where it's 6 points per passing touchdown. Obviously, if you're playing in a dynasty league where it's only 4 points per passing touchdown, you really want to value those mobile quarterbacks. So definitely be careful
yeah.
about trading away Anthony Richardson unless you're getting another like rushing quarterback, like we
Yeah.
were just talking about.
I guess we never said super flex. I mean, I think that's pretty
Oh yeah, of
obviously
course, that goes
like
without saying, but yeah, definitely
yeah.
super flex leagues we're talking about here.
Yeah, yeah, and again, you can kind of do the math for the single QB stuff. Again, actually, probably like I'd be probably trying to buy AR like crazy in a single quarterback because like
Right.
who really cares, you know? Like maybe give
Yeah,
them
you just
dirt
want the
cheap.
upside, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
for
I mean,
sure.
there's your single quarterback, chat
Yeah.
there.
And then let's talk about some of like the more like pocket passers again for 6 point passing touchdown leagues. How about Joe Burrow? What would you be willing to do the swap from AR to Burrow, and what would you put on top of AR to make that swap if necessary?
Yeah, I mean, like they're 0-3. He has had two good games after like a dud week one. I feel like the market like hasn't probably like corrected on him because like he definitely took a good hit with the wrist injury,
Mhm.
and like he just looks like Joe Burrow again,
Yeah.
regardless if they're winning games or not.
Yeah.
So I'd feel safe making that swap, and you know if I gotta pay something extra, like Joe Burrow, you know a lot of these pocket passers, you know, sometimes don't have the highest ceilings, but Joe Burrow like consistently puts up these like monster 30-point games and stuff like that
Mhm.
too. Like
Yeah.
we'd want out of a scrambler. So I'm
Mhm.
willing to give like a pass for him, and I would go over to Burrow, and I'd add, of course I'd add, add easily a second right now.
Yeah.
Just given AR's played like trash trash. So
Yeah. And how about Brock Purdy? Are you making the swap? Are you adding anything?
I wouldn't make the swap straight up. I
Mhm.
know that like I think most people would right now. I don't know. Would you?
I mean, it's tough because like I think a lot of managers would do that, just being kind of so reactionary in season. If you're a competitor, I think I'd be okay with it. I mean, I wouldn't feel amazing,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, honestly, like I would do it if I needed to. I would.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I get that totally, and he didn't run hot at all in his like first two games, but and then he blows up in his third game. So
Yeah,
I mean,
but
he's in like a
you
similar
know what you're getting
situation
with
with
Purdy. Like you're getting like a
yeah,
rock solid NFL quarterback. I mean, I
yeah,
think he's locked in at this point as the starter. I don't think
yeah,
there's any more like doubt about, oh, he's Mr. Irrelevant and
yeah,
is he going to keep the job? And like, he's locked in there.
yeah.
Like, you got to feel good if you own Purdy.
Based on startups, I think I'm like higher on Purdy than most have, because
Yeah.
I've been drafting him in like the third, which is like I think it was kind of crazy. He was going like the mid third.
Yeah.
Did that a couple times, but yeah, I don't know. I still with where I hold Anthony Richardson in his ceiling,
Mhm.
whatever. I still would be hesitant to do it. I wouldn't blame you for doing it. I guess I should say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And then like CJ Stroud, like I don't even know if you could like
oh boy,
realistically like make that swap or even like
no, no, no.
I mean if you're not adding like a first, like I'm not even
Yeah,
sure if you could do that, but like
no,
it's weird because Stroud even hasn't even been that good either. So like it's
yeah,
it's probably not a realistic option, but
yeah.
yeah.
You're not gonna get a deal with them with those, like because no one's panicking on Stroud. I mean, maybe like a tiny bit, but like because they're like
Yeah.
they're more just like frustrated, but they're not like panicking.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're not gonna get a deal done like that. But it is interesting, like Stroud, like if gotta defend the bags here with AR. Yeah, he does have like the same amount of points as Stroud for 3 weeks. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
funny.
And just for fun, because Sam Darnold is number 2 in fantasy points among
Oh
quarterbacks right
man,
now somehow. So let's say some rebuilder out there is offering you like Sam Darnold and Jonathan Taylor for Anthony Richardson.
yeah, no, I can't do it. We were just checking out some. I hadn't looked at KCC in like months until this week,
Yeah.
and he's ahead of Anthony Richardson. I mean, I don't even know how that works. So
That's crazy. So I guess based on market value, you should do that deal and then flip JT for
yeah,
like a boatload. So I guess
yeah,
like if you think you can do that, you could consider that. But
yeah. We're talking about super
honestly, like
flex.
that's probably not even being offered to you right now
Yeah.
based on how reactionary the market is.
I,
So
I don't know. Like, I mean, one injury and like JT is just turned to he's Nick Chubb. So like, I just think it's crazy. But hey,
yeah, yeah. And then like I mean, if you can't find a good deal to send away AR to get someone you feel a little better about for just like the production right now. I mean, are you just like basically rolling with AR and like, are you okay with that? Or
yeah.
like, I mean, how are you feeling if that's kind of what you're stuck with right now?
You know what? Like, and I was considering it with you is that if you're struggling right now, I don't even know what Andy Dalton's schedule it is.
Hmm.
I think he plays Cincinnati this week, which is hilarious because
Yeah.
obviously he was the Cincinnati quarterback for so long. But
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe just like go by Andy Dalton and just like hope he just is tearing it up.
Right. Yeah.
It
It's
is a
not,
six
that's
point
not a
league.
bad idea. I mean, you could probably get him for a
Yeah,
second right now, and maybe
yeah,
you could even like get him for less, or maybe you could get like a
Yeah.
fourth kickback or something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking it depends on the price, cause like, but like, I don't know. I don't know what I'd be willing to give for you have him hilariously enough
You're
in
right,
this league where I have
exactly.
Anthony Richardson, so
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'd have to give up for him. I own Dalton in a few leagues, like we own him in a league. As a
Let's say it
QB3,
was your
so
own 25 second.
yeah.
So obviously you're hoping it's going to be a late pick, but you are 1 and 2 right now, so it's kind of a wide range of outcomes
Oh
there.
my
You
goodness.
give your own 25 second at 1 and 2 to get Andy Dalton on a team where you're counting on Anthony Richardson and you basically have like no QB3.
I mean, that's tough. If you get like a kickback, like
Okay.
maybe it's just like a 26 third. I know it's like a third, you get a second third, but like that's a pretty good return for like Dalton. Then like I would think I could probably justify it. I don't own my 25 second in this league.
Yeah.
I have like a what I think is like a good second, but
And how about this? I will kick you back Jalen Naylor. I don't even think I own him, but let's say I did.
I
Kick
do.
you back.
I do.
Yeah,
Chris,
but
we
let's
own
let's say
everyone,
I own
but
Naylor. I'll give you Dalton and
no.
Jalen Naylor, and I get your 25 second. You
No.
doing that?
No, okay. The reason I wouldn't do it for Nailers, because like as much as like we love him and like have been streaming him and, like weirdly in
Yeah.
some leagues, is like Addison's gonna be back and like Nailor's always hurt, so like
Okay.
I need to see more from
Okay.
Nailor to like actually put value to him, but
Yeah.
he's a good stash. So
How about this? I won't give you the third, but I'll kick you back a fourth. So I'll give you Dalton in a fourth. You gotta give me your second and
if
25.
I don't know if it's early fourth and I see one more bad game from like Richardson where it's like
Yeah.
just and he's playing Pittsburgh, of course.
Yeah.
I would consider then doing it and like in Andy Dalton like again does his thing. Like I want to see like one more game from Andy
Well,
Dalton
hey,
for
like
paying a second.
Dalton's price could go up. So if you wait one more week and
Whoa,
Richardson has another bad game and Dalton goes
whoa.
crazy, like the price just went up. So like you might have to make this move right now.
But his price goes up to a second because like I don't think you can get a second for Dalton right now. You did light it up, and we've been on
Yeah, I think
Dalton.
that would be tough. I mean,
Yeah,
I think maybe a few leagues out there, maybe it's happening, but like it's probably tough.
yeah. Like Dobbs put up like 3 nuclear games in a row, or like 2 in a row, or something, and like
Yeah.
he was then like kind of arguably worth the second. Like I didn't.
Yeah, I think he was moved for a second in a few leagues,
He
but it
was.
wasn't like
Yeah.
everywhere.
I remember someone was offering me that and in a league and I was like, oh my, like I don't, I love like I thought he was gonna be nuts, but I'm like, oh my god, a second for like Dobbs, like and then Cousins and it just
Yeah. Okay, so what offer are you sending out for Dalton right now? Like you sending
like
out 2/3? Like what are you sending out?
if you're a competitor, I would be comfortable sending out 25 and 26 third.
Okay.
If you just need a quarterback like that, here's the issue: if you trade a second for Dalton, okay. Like yes, after one game, we believe in the Red Rifle to just like get it done. Be like this Joe Flacco mini, and just like throw like 202 every game kind of thing. Like, anyways, so the issue is if you send a second for him and then like AR puts up a good game, like what the hell do? You just like you might have just wasted a second on Dalton and then like you wasted a second to like start the worst quarterback that week because like if AR like dominated and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well like now I can't even sell Dalton for a second. No one else is gonna want him or need him. So it's like we want to be reactionary, but we don't want to be overreactionary because it's like we're all
Yeah.
working on the 1 week sample on Dalton, which again like we're optimistic on him, but like what is he? He's never gonna go to a first. Like obviously he'll never go to a first. Like so it's like like a second is like the win for any backup quarterback
Sure.
unless it's like Justin Fields or like some weird like really young optimistic guy.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and that's the other tricky thing is like if you make that trade, do you actually start
do you
Andy
even start?
Dalton or over Anthony
Yeah,
Richardson? Because I would be terrified to do that if you can't make a deal to upgrade Anthony Richardson or get like an Andy Dalton. I mean, you might just have to ride with AR and hope for the best. Yeah, yeah. But he certainly offers that weekly upside. He can give you those spike weeks to like
yeah,
win you a week. So who knows? I mean, if you can't pull a trade off and you're stuck with him and you're stuck starting him, I mean, it might be the best thing for your team when all's said and done. So definitely don't panic. See if you can upgrade AR at a reasonable price. See if you can maybe get a contingency plan like Andy Dalton. But if not, you might just have to ride it out. So hopefully that helped you guys.
yeah.
Definitely a tricky situation right now, knowing what to do with AR and Dynasty. But like the video if you got some value out of it. Subscribe to the channel, and we will see you on the next one.